They were all dead. The final gunshot was an exclamation mark to everything that had led to this point. I released my finger from the trigger.
Hey, Jamie here, and today I want to talk about the Max Payne series. Here's a freeze frame of Max's face. It's also the face of Sam Lake, Max Payne's writer. It's a face that is ridiculous. It's ridiculous because he looks constipated and stretched over a weirdly shaped head. This is a face that knows it's on a character model and realises how stupid it looks. This is the face of someone enjoying himself but slightly embarrassed in front of a white screen having their photo taken because they're not an actor or model. That face encapsulates everything that is great about Max Payne. The face represents a TV show inside a game that breaks the fourth wall and mocks it. It represents an Easter egg involving rats with guns. It's the face of a character whose name is Max Payne. He's a parody of the grizzled detectives of pulp novels who speak in absurd metaphors, flying through the air in slow motion, high on painkillers, in the name of a dead wife and child we don't care about.
No!
This is also Max Payne. Here, he's modelled on James McCaffrey, the actor who voiced him in the previous games. In Max Payne 3, all his mannerisms and motions are captured. His face has been scanned and modelled, down to the pores in his skin. In Max Payne 1, the constipated face he pulls is one of a few presets. The default is this cheeky smile, the constipated one is activated when you use a weapon. Now, if you watch one of the numerous cutscenes in Max Payne 3, you might catch this constipated face at some point. He does spend a lot of the game in pent-up states of agony, but it probably wasn't meant to be there. The reason Max Payne 3 failed is because it was embarrassed to be a Max Payne game. Sam Lake looked embarrassed to be Max Payne's face, but not enough that he was ever replaced. He was part of what made the game feel weird and silly. When Max Payne 1 proved a commercial success, suddenly Finnish developers Remedy were on the map. And not long after Max Payne's release, Take-Two Interactive acquired the franchise. When Max Payne 2 arrived, Sam Lake's weird grin was absent. Instead, Remedy used the likeness of McCaffrey. Now, McCaffrey and Lake look completely different, but somehow it didn't matter. Max Payne 2 was still a game about Max Payne. Max still spoke in metaphors, and the weird meta TV shows were not only present, but actually played a bigger part in the game. And if Max's new face really bothered you, you could easily unpack the game's code, find the bitmap texture of James McCaffrey, and replace it with Sam Lake. Sure, I mean, it looks really weird, but it was the original Max. Now, Rockstar could have added support to Max Payne 3, allowing modders to continue their work of adding canon Sam Lake Max, but the victory would have been a hollow one, because it's not really a Max Payne game. All those aforementioned things about what the face represents were either absent or simply out of place in Max Payne 3. Max Payne 3 struggled to be a Max Payne game for a number of reasons, and surprisingly, it being set mainly outside of New York isn't actually one of them. Firstly, Max Payne wasn't political. Sure, it had an evil corporation and an Illuminati-style conspiracy in it, but it didn't make any judgments, despite it all being filtered through a lens of metafiction. Through pages and pages of dialogue, Max rarely ventured past vague symbolism, and everyone he killed was a caricature. The junkies were basically goblins, and the antagonist's henchmen, also known as killer suits, all wore sunglasses indoors and trench coats. Alongside this cartoon plot were psychological horror sequences in which you navigated nightmares about your wife and child's murders. While not exactly subtle, it was pretty grim stuff. The reason that Max Payne was able to have it both ways, with grimness and silliness barely spaced apart, was it always acknowledged that it could only work by being absurd. The result was something eccentric and unconventional. No other game looked or felt like this. It was a slightly insane Finnish version of film noir, Hong Kong cinema, and a so-called American nightmare, which probably meant nothing but just sounded cool. With the slick presentation and nuanced script of Max Payne 3, Rockstar missed this key element. In Max Payne 3, the titular character often talks about his embarrassment at being just another gringo killing street thugs who were ultimately disenfranchised victims.
What was I really doing walking in there with my bad haircut and ridiculous shirt? Was I there to make something right? Or was I just using a messed up situation to indulge myself, grasping at some desperate delusion of control? Maybe the two went hand in hand more than I cared to admit.
He shoots his way through two different favela gangs who end up almost sympathetic through their oppression by corrupt police and government. Max Payne 3 wants to explore class and the divisions between rich and poor. It frames Max as an ignorant drunk and asks questions about the nature of his heroism. He uncovers the plot not through detective work or smarts, but by blind luck and being in the right place at the right time. Here, Max isn't apolitical, he's a nihilistic narcissist. He knows that he's an avenging white knight, attempting to restore balance in a foreign land that needs him, even when it doesn't. Often the complex narrative at work feels completely at odds with the actual gameplay of shooting people in the face in slow motion. I won't go into specifics about this, but for a great analysis, I urge you to check out Keith Stewart's piece for The Guardian about narrative dissonance, which I've linked in the description. Look, broader than even politics, any game that explores real-world ideas within it should be applauded. Max Payne 3 strives to add real-world context to its once pulpy world. This was done at the cost of consistent identity though. Sure, it still had the iconic theme, the bullet time, metaphors, even the endgame menu options. Max Payne 3 had its own identity, but that identity was at odds with the franchise it was supposed to be part of. A Max Payne game has never felt as smooth and as focused as this. The mechanisms worked incredibly well, and a ton of thought has gone into the game. Reframed as a reboot, perhaps it would work, superficially at least, but alongside its two predecessors it simply didn't make sense. Max Payne 3 the game is the cynical, angry character it thinks Max is, only he isn't. Max Payne is Sam Lake, and he will always belong to ridiculousness.
I released my finger from the trigger, and then it was over.
If you like this video, please subscribe and leave me a comment. I might actually reply. And you can also check out heypoorplayer.com for the latest previews, news, reviews, basically anything related to video games. I've been Jamie for Hey Poor Player. See you next time.